The writing process for the show is the most complicated step in creating an episode of Johnny Backseed. The entire show is scripted and very little is improvised. The writing ultimately decides where exactly the direction of the show will go, therefore it's arguably the most important element. The show follows a very specific format, and there are many reoccurring jokes that could be found in each episode.
While writing, there are many opportunities to make mistakes. For example, in part 2 of the 1-year special during the Question of the Day segment, the question was, who was the best president? And the joke was that every president listed was right-winged. However, Bill Clinton was included, who is a Democrat, therefore causing a distraction. This happened because when doing a Google search for Republican presidents, Bill Clinton for some reason happened to be the first result. Therefore, without too much thought, he was included. There's also a plot hole here and there. Most notably, Marky has mentioned in numerous episodes that he had a wife. However, in the last episode, Marky complained about his girlfriend. There are some running jokes that appear throughout the series that seem to be a mistake that keeps reoccurring. One of them is the phone number. The phone number 1-800-2222 should actually be 1-800-222-22222. The reason being that the former is much faster to speak and doesn't interrupt the flow as much as the latter does. However, the phone number being the way it is will be explained in a later episode.
As the show develops, the more the format will change. The most recent format that is used in episodes 5 and 6 follows this pattern. Intro, question of the day, commercial, crabapple news, commercial, story time, karaoke, commercial, 7 cents, commercial, callers, commercial, crafty corner, commercial, guess that song, commercial, Jeremy Wicked, commercial, conclusion. The Johnny Backseed Show's specific format is intro, question of the day, story time, karaoke, guest callers, guess that song, and the conclusion. Episodes usually start out with some sort of anecdote from either Johnny or Marky to immediately engage the listener. Crabapple News has its own specific format of national story announced by Greg, regional story announced by Slugmaster, and a local story announced by Fabio, followed by the weather, which is followed by a second story by Greg, and finally wrapped up with an interview by Fabio. The other show's formats are determined by the amount of ideas and the timing of the show.
Actually, writing the script is the biggest part. Each segment is written one by one and is usually improvised, so to speak. There's no specific direction initially thought up. This helps keep things more natural and let it go its own way. After the first draft is written, I check for spelling errors and fix some of the issues that stand out. Otherwise, most of what is first written stays. With other scripts and stories, the whole script writing process would be much more complex and planned out. However, because the Johnny Backseed Show is supposed to be a bit more natural and on the spot, this system works out better. The show is driven exclusively by characters and their voices. For the last 3 episodes, there have been a cast of about 13 people altogether. Even though the biggest characters are voiced by yours truly, the background characters are just as important. The background characters influence heavily the main character's actions, and ultimately because of the background characters and their interaction with the main characters, it gives the show a lot more energy. Each actor/actress will have roles written specifically for their own voices, and each person will roughly have about the same amount of lines. The character selection process is definitely not random in any ways, and the results because of this are fantastic. The best thing about the project is hearing what the other actors and actresses have to offer. The scripts are written in Google Docs. Each actor/actress is given a color, and their characters are highlighted with that specific color. Next to the characters are annotations, giving the description of what the character is like. When writing out characters, some characters tend to talk more than others. For example, Jam from 7 Cents will tend to talk more than Dickie. This is because of her chatty personality. Usually what she says is redundant and self-centered. Other characters such as Slugmaster C, for example, will talk less. The reason behind this is because his voice is more strenuous to talk for extended periods of time. The script is the outline of everything that will happen. Every sound effect is listed, from each song that is played or sung to each phone ring. Because the show is purely auditory, sound effects give a more visual aspect to the show. While the inflection and intonation of the characters do go a long way in telling the story, sound effects can give a lot more context to the jokes. For example, if Johnny is grabbing food out of a paper bag, it would make more sense to have the sound effect of a paper bag crumpling to let the listener know that Johnny is reaching into the paper bag. If he reaches in there and you hear a sloshing sound, that lets you know that he probably reached into the wrong bag. It makes his reaction more authentic. Each character has their own personality. Not only is that reflected in their voice, but in what they say. Johnny, for example, will often mispronounce larger words. He'll also use incorrect grammar, such as double negatives, whereas someone more proper, such as Greg,
will tend not to use such incorrect grammar. And when he does, it stands out. Dickie is written to be very egotistical. Most of which he says is about himself. Fabio is written to be very snappy at others and is very snobby and pretentious. Jeremy tends to give very overly complicated and philosophical responses to the most basic of questions. Marky tends to be very condescending to others, and especially to Johnny.
Commercials are a fun way to separate the segments. Most commercials are inspired by actual ones that I have heard. You may remember this commercial of Fred and Janice.
Oh no, Janice!
What is it, Fred?
It's almost Valentine's Day.
Oh wow, it is?
I haven't bought...
This is inspired by this commercial.
Hey, Pat.
Hello, Sherry.
I feel so bad for them.
People who pigeons really like?
No, air conditioner owners.
A lot of the commercials parody actual ones that I have heard. Writing commercials can be the hardest part. However, commercials tend to be the best part and the most fun to write. Since they don't usually voice in commercials, this gives the actor or actress a lot of freedom to do what they want with their part. Since most of the time they don't have to bounce off another character, therefore not having to be concerned with trying to match with the other actor.
Well, writing is one of the longer processes. It's very fun and exciting. Scripts tend to be very long, upwards of 40 plus pages. As it appears, the more episodes there are, the longer they'll be. With each episode, there's more opportunity to expand on the characters. One thing I like to do with the characters is have them interact with their environments. Rather than having them stay in the studio the whole time, they'll actually get up and move around. Most notably, when Marky left to go shopping and called Johnny with updates.
That covers the whole writing process. Be sure to check out part 3, which will be the editing process. This will come out as soon as possible.